Hello, this is Chelsea, and I am coming from Standing Rock, North Dakota. And I don't have a lot of time. I am occupying somebody else's space at the moment. But I wanted to let you guys in on just the most recent occurrences here. So I have good news and I have bad news. And so I'm going to tell you the bad news first, because otherwise I'll just get into the good news and I'll never talk about it. So last night, around 3 a.m., pretty much the entire camp was woken up by a massive windstorm. It was so loud that it sounded like there was a tornado outside of our tents. A lot of the tents collapsed. I don't know if it was most of them, but it was at least over half of the tents in the camp have collapsed. You could just hear the poles breaking, like snapping everywhere. Some people got tree branches that fell into their tents. My tent is totally collapsed and possibly irreparably damaged. So that happened. Actually, it lasted for about 2 hours at the rate that it was going, but it continued to be incredibly windy throughout the day and continued to cause more damage throughout the day. And it was a little bit scary. It was so loud. And then the security teams started waking everybody up around 4 just to make sure that everybody was okay and to see whose tents had caved in and, who needed help at that time. There was one woman who hurt her back because she got hit by a tree branch. But now, today at the camp, you just walk around and everything is basically destroyed, and everybody spent most of the day repairing it. And it's only going to get worse. As winter progresses, the winds are only going to get stronger. The winds today were probably only 30 degrees, but they're going to go down. The lowest I guess they've gotten is below 60, which is insane. And if our tents are already caving in right now, we've got to get the hell out of tents because they're just going to fall to the ground. So we've been working on building more permanent structures. Some people donated structures. What we've gotten now is those portable garages, like boat garages. They're huge. So we've got several of those that we're putting up at the camp now. And then just kind of making do with what we have to build whatever we can and try to, rig stoves and whatnot. So if you are going to send anything to the camp or you're thinking about donating to the camp, send building supplies. Just order them online from Home Depot, or there's a tractor supply company in Mandan, and you can have them shipped over here. And that would probably be a lot more useful than sending cash to the camp, because most of the things that we have that we're working with right now came from donations from actual people, and they did not come from the cash fund that is going to Standing Rock. I don't know where that's going. I know some of it's going to legal funds and sanitation, but I know it's not going towards supplies at this moment. So if you want to send anything, send things like wood and tools and tarps and just whatever you can think of, because we probably don't have it. And the weather is already getting crazy. So we've only got maybe 2 weeks until the snow comes, which is going to be relatively terrifying. And I don't know how that's going to work out for a lot of people, but we're doing what we can now, and we're spending all day trying to weatherproof the area. And then the good news is today we shut down 2 pipeline construction areas. We came out with hundreds of us, literally hundreds. And because now we have decided that it no longer makes sense to send out small groups. We're not going to send out small groups so that they can arrest a few at a time. No, we're going to send out hundreds. And today it worked. The police came, they were there. They did not even speak to anyone. There was one tribe that had a banner that was so long that they used it to literally just block the road. And the police did not come past that banner. And when the banner started to move forward to go back to our cars, the police started to move backwards. So there was no conflict whatsoever at that time. So we got to the first site we got to today, and we caravanned with, I don't even know how many cars, dozens, maybe even 100 different cars, just jam-packed with people, and we drove over an hour in this straight procession. So you could see the people in this little town trying to get out of their little back roads. It was impossible. You got 100 cars coming down in a line. You guys are stuck. So I am sure that we pissed off some locals today who were just trying to go to the grocery store. And I'm sorry for that. But it was necessary, and it worked. So we shut down construction at the first site. We just walked straight onto the site. They saw us coming. We had the drums and everybody singing. Before we were even 50 feet away, the entire construction crew packed up their stuff and walked away. They were long gone before we ever got over there. So people started climbing on the equipment, and nobody damaged any equipment, and the elders were there, and they were very specific about no damaging the equipment. So that did not happen. We gathered, and we had a prayer circle, and the elders sang, and there was drums, and there was a long kind of ceremony. And then the youth that were with us, the children and the teenagers, went and they planted willow trees in front of the pipes that were not connected yet, so that they would have to actually plow over these trees to connect these pipes at this point. And they said a prayer to make sure that no one will remove these trees, that these trees will always be safe. So it was just an entirely beautiful moment, and we stayed there for about 45 minutes, and then that's when we marched out and the police marched back, and we went back to our cars, and we were actually riding on the top of this amazing school bus. So there's hundreds of cars, but there was at least 20 of us just riding on the top of a school bus, and we drove another several miles. And there was another construction site, and we walked up, and we did the exact same thing. We shut down that site, and we planted the willow trees again, and we planted corn, just as a gesture. And, so that's 2 construction sites that did not get to continue building today. And there's a misconception that somehow they have stopped building. They have not stopped building. They are still building. Just because they're not building, at the camp anymore, they're only 20, 30 miles away, and they have gotten a lot of progress. They're probably 70% of the way through with this, and they really only need that connecting piece to finish this off. So, they're just in the backyard continuing. They're just only following that small restricted area that was covered in the restraining order, which is only temporary. So nothing is halted. This company is still moving forward at a rapid pace, and it's heartbreaking. When we are driving by, you can see how much of it is actually already completed and has been completed just over the last week or two. Every day, I don't go to town every day, but every time I've gone to town, every few days, there's more of it completed. And it's so much bigger than it was 2 weeks ago. It's stretching far past where the eye can see. So it is not slowed down. It is not time to give up. It is time to fight harder, because they're closing in. They're closing in on the river. They're getting closer. But every day that we shut down the construction, they lose money and their stocks go down. And they do have a deadline of January 3rd. That's when their permits expire. So if we can push them back until January 3rd and they're still not done, they have to reapply and go through this whole process. And while, yes, they'll probably get granted again, these inconveniences cost them a lot of money. And that is the only thing that they actually respond to, is when they're losing profits. So that is why this is important to every day shut down as many of these construction sites as possible, because every day their stocks fall and their investors pull out, and these pipelines become less likely to continue to permeate our country when it doesn't become a profitable event. When their stocks are falling, and these companies are going to start being afraid of building these. Is this a industry I want to be in? It's not a favorite industry anymore. So that's what we need to do, is change the consensus and make this not a profitable industry, because as long as it continues to make the money, they're never going to stop. So, but we're not going to let them go to this river. There's thousands of people out there, and I don't know even which part of this is more important. I don't know if it's the fact that there is now over 350 tribes that at one point or another were at war with each other, and now are coming together for the first time, like ever, and rejoining their cultures and reviving their heritage and just being amazing and setting history. Or maybe it's the fact that you have a camp with over 7,000 people that are not relying on money anymore and are literally living by a barter system and sharing with each other and not spending a dime in these camps. There is no cash currency at this camp, and yet everyone has everything that they need, and you have people helping each other, and this is what communities are supposed to be. And I hope that we can take something from this experience about what we can make communities in the future, because this fake monetary system that we have is screwing us all, and they're doing it on purpose, and there is a better way to live in which we actually treat each other like people. So, that's another incredibly important aspect. And then there's the fact that you have all of the top activists in the country here networking and learning from this experience and figuring out how we're going to go forward and take this to actually save ourselves from our horribly corrupted government. Because let's face it, guys, our government, the U.S. government, is being attacked from the inside and from the outside at this point. We've got protesters and protectors over here, and we've got a multitude of countries who are done with our bullshit. So it's going to be up to us to preserve what is beautiful about this country and the beautiful people in it, and show that we can do better than this. And that's what we're doing right now. That is what 7,000 people bearing the winter in North Dakota in the middle of a field are doing right now. So I say no more pipelines, no more profit over people, and we're going to keep this up, and I'm going to fight it out here as long as I can. I don't know how long I'm going to be here. I originally had decided when I first came that I was going to stay until the first week of October, but the stuff that is happening here is just so important that once you're here, you feel like you can't leave. And I hear everybody saying it. It's, people are extending their trips. People are calling home and quitting their jobs because they cannot leave this place, because it feels unnatural to go home and go back to my 9-to-5 life and ignore something that is so huge, that is happening right now, that is changing the way that activism works and is changing the course of our future and giving the power back to the people, because this is a battle that we're winning. And this is showing just how powerful we are when we gather in numbers. And I don't know, I just have to be here for as long as I can and help out with this in any way that I can. So I am going to continue to keep you guys updated. If you want to send supplies, I would, if it were me, I would just order it online and have them deliver it straight to the Sacred Stone Camp or the Standing Rock Camp, which you can find on their website. And we are getting truckloads of stuff in every day. A lot of it is like food and water tanks, which is all incredibly necessary, but we do need building supplies. We need shelving for the food, and a lot of ways to waterproof, and sandbags to hold tarps down, maybe even hay bales to use as windbreaks. So just really out of the box things that maybe people aren't thinking about sending at this point. So you can just have them delivered right there. And if you can come down here, I totally recommend it. It's the experience of a lifetime. There is so much powerful energy here. There is so much change happening here. So much incredible, culture that is just being shared amongst so many different people, and just a unifying of so many different cultures. It's so beautiful. And the fact that these things that you and I are talking about, I think that we all know that when we're out in the regular world, you try to have these conversations with people and they're like, you're a crazy person, but not here. Everybody gets it. Everybody's on the same page. There's such cohesion. I love it. So if you can come down here, even for a weekend, we need all the people we can get. And if you can't come down here, you can send supplies and share the message. Share the message, because I hate to think that this is somewhat dying out in the media, because today I Googled the protest that we did today. We shut down 2 pipeline construction sites, and not one bit of it was in the media. Nothing. I only found a handful of Facebook posts and nothing from news outlets, and not even a whole lot of, sharing. So share these photos, get these stories out, keep it alive. Karen said, what about warmer clothing? We have a ton of clothing. So they actually don't want any more donations of clothing because there's too much as it is. There's just like boxes and boxes of clothing. So, supplies. Even like hand warmers, or like the thing, again, maybe not clothes, but maybe socks, maybe gloves, maybe hats, and just anything you can think of that could be used for warmth. Even firewood. We're going to run out of firewood. And it's going to get too cold to go out there and shop firewood. So having a backlog of that would be ideal, So any way that you guys can help, we're open to it. And thank you guys for watching. I'm going to try to do another live stream later if I'm still here, and maybe include a couple of the other people that I've met here and get their voices into this conversation as well. I've met a lot of really cool people. So, yeah, I will see you guys later, and wish us well. See you later. Bye.